All right, let's dive into India's brand new rulebook for your personal data. This is a huge deal, a framework that's been years in the making, and it's pretty much set to change how our digital world operates.
So, let's get right to it, because the big question on everyone's mind is, who's really in control now? What does all this actually mean for your data, the stuff you're sharing online every single day? Here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the new 2025 rules. Then, we'll zoom out to understand the 2023 Act they're built on. After that, we'll get into the big debates and criticisms. And finally, we'll look at the long journey that got us here. First up, let's talk about the latest piece of the puzzle, the Digital Personal Data Protection Rules of 2025. You can think of these as the final instruction manual that officially flips the switch on this new data protection law.
So these rules, coming straight from the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, have officially started the clock. Organizations, from big tech to small businesses, now have a clear 18-month timeline to get their systems in order and comply.
So what's actually in these rules? Well, here are some of the new duties for companies or, as the law calls them, data fiduciaries. They have to give you clear, simple notices about why they want your data. No more hiding behind pages of confusing legal jargon. And this is a big one. Withdrawing your consent has to be just as easy as giving it. And it doesn't stop there. If a company has a data breach, they have to tell you about it without any unnecessary delay. Plus, they need to make it super easy for you to find the contact info for their data protection officer, so you always know exactly who to reach out to if you have a question or a problem. Now, this is absolutely crucial. There's a whole new layer of protection just for children's data. Companies now need to get verifiable consent from a parent or guardian before they can process a minor's personal info. There are a few exceptions, for essential things like healthcare, but this is a huge step forward.
So, who's the referee in all of this? Who's going to make sure these rules are actually followed? That would be the new Data Protection Board of India. It's a 4-member board, and they're even setting up a dedicated portal and a mobile app to make it easier than ever for you to file a complaint.
Okay, so those are the new rules. But to really get what's happening, we need to rewind just a little and look at the foundation this is all built on, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. The whole point of this act is to find a balance. It's a tightrope walk, really. On one side, you've got your fundamental right to protect your personal data. And on the other, you have the reality that businesses and the government sometimes need to process that data for legitimate reasons. This act tries to find the middle ground. Now, the act introduces a few key terms you're going to hear a lot. First up is data principal. It sounds a bit formal, I know, but it's really simple. That's you. You are the data principal. It's anyone whose personal data is being collected. Then you have the data fiduciary. This is any entity, a company, a government agency, you name it, that decides why and how your personal data is processed. They are basically the custodians of your information, and they have a duty to protect it. And here's a really interesting new player, the consent manager. Think of this as a sort of personal agent for your data permissions. It's an entity that can help you manage all your consents, giving them, reviewing them, and even taking them back, all from one convenient dashboard.
At the very heart of this law are these 7 core principles. They're the guiding philosophy for everything. They cover things like making sure companies only collect the data they absolutely need and ensuring that data is kept accurate and secure. This is the bedrock of the whole framework.
And let me tell you, this act has some serious bite. We are talking about massive financial penalties for companies that mess up. For instance, if a company fails to put in place reasonable security measures to prevent a data breach, they could be on the hook for up to 250 crore rupees. That's not just a slap on the wrist. That's a number that forces data security to the very top of the priority list.
And the penalties don't stop there. Failing to let people know there's been a data breach or breaking the special rules for protecting children's data. That can result in a fine of up to 200 crore rupees. The message here is loud and clear. Compliance is not optional.
Okay, but it's not all smooth sailing. Like any massive new law, this one has definitely sparked some serious debate and raised a lot of concerns. So let's get into the big criticisms.
Probably the biggest point of contention is the power given to the government. The Act allows government agencies to be exempted from these rules for broad reasons like national security, and critics worry there isn't enough independent oversight. They also point out that key rights like the right to data portability and the right to be forgotten, which are standard in laws like Europe's GDPR, are missing from this Act.
And the list of concerns doesn't end there. Some definitions in the law are a bit vague, which could create confusion down the line.
There's also the worry that the high cost of compliance could be a heavy burden for startups. And a really controversial amendment now makes it harder to get personal information through right to information, or RTI requests.
So how do we even get to this point? Well, this whole framework didn't just appear out of thin air. To really understand it, you have to look at the long and winding road that India has been on to formalize data privacy.
This timeline really maps out the journey for us. The whole thing kicked into high gear back in 2017, when the Supreme Court made that landmark ruling that privacy is a fundamental right. That single decision set off a chain reaction, from expert committees and draft bills to, finally, the Act in 2023 and the rules that bring it all to life today.
So, we're left with the ultimate question. As India officially enters this new era of data governance, has it managed to strike the perfect balance? Will this framework successfully protect our privacy while still allowing for the innovation and state security that society needs? That is the billion-dollar question, and frankly, only time will tell.